Everybody ready? Good. Then let's get going. Nearly forgot you guys.
Hey everyone, a really warm welcome back. Thanks so much for your company. Thanks for joining me again. It's great to have you here. Today I want to talk about weight and not us, thankfully, we're off the hook today, but these things. So how much loading is going into the caravan. And this is so important. You know, we must be very careful not to overload the axles or the chassis or any of the parts of the trailer itself. Not just for safety, but also legally. And we have to make sure, obviously, once we're on the road, we're being as safe and as legal as we can be. So this is really important, and if you've got an easy access weighbridge, then that is one potential solution. But a couple of things bothered me about that. So first off, where we live, I am equidistant between two weighbridges, but to be frank, they don't seem the most welcoming places in the world, certainly here anyway. There's very little information available about them online, so it's not clear how you access it, how you get to where you're going. And not only that, but because they're both of them around the back from the tip, the local dump, you have to get stuck in the queue, I guess, for half an hour before you can actually get to the front gate. So it's not a simple solution, put it that way. And as a scientist, well, I guess a proper scientist 20 odd years ago, these days I drive a desk, but you know, back then I was using proper 4 decimal place balances, and so I know full well from that practical experience that if you've got a balance, a weighing scale that's accurate over a certain range, then you try and weigh something else on it, then either it's not going to work, or best case scenario, it'll be a little bit inaccurate. So if you've got a weighbridge that's been calibrated for lorries at 44 tonnes, or perhaps refuge vehicles at, what are they, 26 tonnes, 30 something tonnes, then is it still going to be accurate for a 1.5 tonne of caravan? They say they're plus or minus 20 kilograms, but is that really true? Anyway, if we were to get stopped on the road, then obviously the DVSA, if they're expecting to weigh caravans, they would have a set of mobile scales that would be accurate at the weight of caravans. So, you know, that would be calibrated and give the right sort of weight scale. But we're all going to put our caravans on these weighbridges. Are they actually accurate? Anyway, those 2 reasons a couple of years ago made me look for a different solution. Well, it's more than a few years ago now, actually, because it was back when we had all the trouble with our trailer tent, and one of the things I wasn't convinced of was that it was actually the empty weight that was claimed. I reckon it was a good 50 or so kilos over what was claimed when we ordered it. Anyway, let's head inside, because I want to show you a little gadget that I discovered at that point in time, and it's been very helpful and very easy to help me make sure that we're underweight and we've got plenty of wiggle room, so there's no chance of us going overweight. Anyway, let's head inside. Today I want to introduce you to this handy little gadget, and this is something that I bought when we had all those problems with our trailer tent, one of which was that I was absolutely convinced it was at least 50 kilos over the claimed empty weight. And how did I know that? Well, thanks to this thing. This is the Reich Caravan weight control device, and basically it's a set of scales that's designed to measure up to 1,000 kilograms per wheel. There is another version that's 1,500 kilos per wheel, but this is the smaller one at 1,000 kilos per wheel, and that is more than enough for our 1,400 kilo caravan. If you don't like simple arithmetic, not only does it weigh every wheel, including the jockey wheel, but it also adds it all up and gives you the total weight of the vehicle itself. So that is rather handy, or you can just weigh each wheel individually. Now, just a few pointers before we get any far, because I was rabbiting on about science earlier, so we should do this properly with due regard for science. This does not come with a calibration certificate, so you can't turn up in any courtroom and say, Your Honour, I weighed my Caravan using this and therefore it must be better than the DVSA scale or the police or whomever it is. You cannot do this. So regard this as a guide rather than the definitive truth as told by calibrated scientific instruments. It does, though, claim an accuracy of 3%. Now, that sounds really good, but what is 3%? Well, 3% of 1,000 kilograms, obviously, is 30 kilograms, so it's not that accurate. And, of course, 15 kilograms in 500 kilograms. So if you're weighing a very heavy Caravan, so 1,000 kilos per wheel, then potentially you could be 60 kilos out. So that's what's claimed for the accuracy. However, you don't just take these things as read, do you? When this was brand new, I weighed myself on it, and I weighed myself on our bathroom scales, and they were within a kilo or 2 kilos of each other, and I repeated the measurement 3 times. And then today I've done the same thing, so just balanced myself on the scale and the bathroom scale, and actually they're reading exactly the same thing today. So that suggests to me that actually this little device does give trustworthy information, but it's not a scientifically pure and tested device, so do regard the results with a little bit of a pinch of salt and a little bit of skepticism. So going back to my point earlier about weighbridges, if the one you use is actually calibrated and certified for 1.5 tons, 2 tons, which is about the range you want for a Caravan, and it has an accuracy of plus or minus 20 kilos, then that will be more accurate than this. But if it's certified just for 44-ton lorries, then frankly you've got very little chance, in my opinion, of getting a decent accurate measurement of a Caravan size box put onto it. Now, the other point about this thing, of course, is it's incredibly handy because I can just measure it on the drive. All I need is a nice flat level solid surface compared to having to hitch the Caravan up and go and take it off to a weighbridge. So that, I think, is where the particular strengths of this one lie. Now, for reference, my Caravan has an MT PLM of 1,400 kilograms. So if I want to be absolutely certain that there's no way I'm overweight with that, then I need to allow 3%, which in this case means that I need to get a reading of no more than 1,358 kilograms to be absolutely certain that I'm underweight. So first off, the jockey wheel, and this is a bit tricky because how on earth do you lift the jockey wheel on a 3-wheeled wagon? Well, I've got heavy duty steadies, so I put all of those down all the way around, and I'll just pop the scale under now. I'm not sure that's the advisable way of doing it. I suppose I could have jacked up the front or even put actually that Malenko nose weight gauge on under here. That might have been better. So let me just wind this up and down to show you how it takes the measurement. There we are, 64 kilos. Don't worry, it's missing stuff in the front gas locker at the moment, so it's not usually that light. Anyway, the rest is easy. So you just drive over the scale at a 90-degree angle, so drive over it fairly slowly. I'm going to use the motor mover, and then it will tell us how much weight each wheel is actually carrying. Now, some people in the forum seem to say you need a ramp to drive up to go over this, and that you should have an equally sized piece of wood under the other wheel so that you're balanced, but the instructions don't say anything about that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to drive straight over the top with the motor mover, and the instructions do say though that the slower you can go, the more accurate your measurement, so that is what I will do. Do expect to use it on a flat block paving or tarmac or some sort of flat solid surface like that, concrete, something like that, so that it gives accurate measurements. So to help this thing be as accurate as possible, drive over it very, very slowly, obviously making sure you're in the center of the measurement bar, not driving over the LCD screen, but also make sure your surface is as level as possible and as sound and solid as possible, and that you haven't got any grit or anything stuck under those pads underneath. Right, and there we are. So we've got 64 kilograms on the nose, That's far too light because I've just taken out a gas bottle, so don't worry, I'm not about to set off towing with only 64 kilograms on the front. What was it, 629 on the offside and 691 on the near side, so that is quite unbalanced. Adding all those three together, which of course the device would do, but I've turned it off now, gives us a grand total of 1,384 kilograms. So that is 16 kilos under our maximum weight, our MTPLM. Now, today's weight is a little bit different for normal because I've got one of the gas bottles out, so that means it's lower than it usually would be. But there is quite a heavy awning that's actually stored in the caravan while it's sat on the drive here, so that probably adds about 25 or 30 kilos. And we've also got a little bit of water in the tanks, which I need to empty out. So we would normally travel, of course, with all the tanks empty. So that's a little bit different from normal, which means this isn't a true indication of the weight we would travel at. But seeing the difference between the two wheels, then I'm going to check this once we are properly loaded before we go off next time, because I'm sure it will tow even better than it does now if the wheels are reasonably balanced in terms of having similar loads on each side. Now, the other thing to think about, of course, is this 3% error bar. So although this is measured at 1,384 kilograms today, you have to remember there is this 3% error bar to account for. So that means that measurement of 1,384 kilograms, if this thing is in error to its maximum extent, that could be as low as 1,342.48 kilos or as high as 1,423.52 kilos. So if this thing is measuring under what it should be, then we could still be in reality over the weight that we should be, which is why I try and get myself nicely under that limit to allow for that possible error bar. So as I said, take the measurement with a bit of pinch of salt, but you know, this is taking me 5 minutes to get the measurement done compared to getting the thing hitched up and then getting it all the way across to the weighbridge and trying to get in there where it's not clear whether I'm welcome or not, and also I have to deal with all the traffic going to the dump and all that sort of stuff. So I think I'd rather make sure we were well under the weight that we could be. Alright, so that's it. I hope that was a useful overview of the little weigh scale itself. I've put a link in the description below if you want to pick one of these things up. Unfortunately, they seem to have doubled in price since I got mine. I think mine was just about £99 and is easily paid for itself by now to save me the charges of our local weighbridge, which I think is £30 a pop. So there's a link in the description below. Sorry they've doubled in price. I didn't vote for import charges and so on, and I think that's probably what's going on here. So extra courier charges and customs clearance charges and so on has made that happen. Anyway, we won't mention the B word. So that's there if you want one of those. It's an affiliate link, so be hugely grateful if you do want one that you check out within 24 hours, because it gives me a tiny bit of commission, I think 2 or 3%, something like that. But other than that, I hope the episode was helpful and it was interesting to watch the caravan getting weighed. So thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for your company, and I'll catch you in the next one. So see ya. Bye for now.